Hello, friends. I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to be talking about Mark Rosowski. Mark Rosowski was born in 1966 of July. He's the youngest out of him and his older brother, and his father left him when he was really young. And as a kid, he was picked on a lot because his family didn't have a lot of money. So to deal with feeling like he didn't fit in, he started getting in to skateboarding. And he was good at it. And he started doing competitions and he got really big. And he started making a lot of money off of it. And he was like, back then, like, apparently, from what I've gathered, kind of like Tony Hawk. Him and Tony Hawk were pretty close as far as popularity back then. And he actually had the number one, his skateboard sold really well. But the popular he got, he started drinking and using drugs. He met, well, she was 15 at the time, and her name was Brandy, and he met her and her friend Jessica. Well, he liked Brandy, so they started dating, and they would actually date for a while. The thing though is at first he treated Brandy well, but then he really started showing more of a dark side to him. It was like the more fame he got, it just went to his head, and he already had anger issues, and it seemed like the more popular he got, the more just angry he also got, probably from the fact that he was also drinking a lot and, like I said, doing substances. So one time when he was in Australia for a competition, a kid come up to him and he hit the kid. Well, because of this, he was banned from Australia. And it also affected the sales of like the skateboards and stuff of his, because people that were looking up to him were starting to realize he had a bad temper. And then there was also one incident where he hit a security guard. One time he got so drunk that he fell off of a hotel balcony and hit the fence. And he got really hurt. He had to be sent to the hospital with a lot of stitches. But at this point, skateboarding was getting to the point where it was becoming not as popular as what it was at one point. And so, really, his fame wasn't what it was at one point. So, he was becoming really depressed. He was struggling with, at this time, he was 24, and he went from probably feeling like, he had everything, to feeling probably at a very low, feeling like his career was almost over. And it didn't help at this time with like a lot of the stuff that he was doing, with fans noticing that he was being violent. And he was also becoming more violent with his girlfriend. He would keep her away from her friends. She really couldn't hang out with anybody. So he was getting to the point he wanted to change. So he becomes friends with this surfer, and the surfer, well, he used to surf, but he got really hurt, so he couldn't surf anymore. So he turned his life around and started going to church and following God. So when Mark met him, he wanted to do the same thing. Well, that also meant that he believed that obviously you couldn't have a sexual relations until marriage. Well, his girlfriend was, she was still in her little bit of a wild party stage. So she told him she wasn't ready for that. So they broke up, and she found somebody her own age. But Mark became very jealous of that. And he started threatening Brandy. He even broke in her house one night and took the stuff that he bought for her, and he slashed her tires. And he even told her how it would be so easy just to kill her and bury her. So he was threatening her and telling her stuff like this, and she was scared. She remembers a time where he called her and wanting to take her out, and she was fine with that. But then on the car ride, he become very just angry. And that's when he started telling her how easy it could be to end her life. And after that, she she wanted to get away from him, so she left. Well, the only people she told that she was leaving was her parents. So she didn't tell her friend Jessica, that had just moved to California and didn't really know anybody, so was looking for a friend. So she calls up Mark, and her and Mark go on a date. And at first, everything is good, but as she's getting ready to leave, he bashes her over the head, and he takes her in his bedroom, where he does horrible stuff for almost 3 hours before suffocating her. And he takes her body in the desert and he buries her. Well, he gets to the point where the guilt is getting too much for him. So he tells his friend that is a preacher, and his friend tells him, "You need to turn yourself in." So he does. And at this time, Jessica's dad is looking for her. Like, he goes to California, where she just moved, putting up posters trying to find his daughter. He even talked to Mark, who people had told him was the last one to see her. Well, he confesses, and they do a trial, and he is sentenced to 31 years to life. He has had parole hearings, and the first one, it was granted, and then the governor overturned it. He's had two more that have been denied. So he still sits in prison today.